Hello, this is Charlie from Accenture, Salesforce Technical Architect, and I am grateful for this opportunity to present to you a Salesforce solution for Pollard Financial Services. And we're going to focus on the security aspect of the solution today. And Pollard Financial Services specialize in individual investment strategy. So the primary customer are the individuals, and then a majority, three-quarters of their clients are actually from business. So the business model of this company is B2B and C. And then if we look at the number of clients they are serving, there are 20 million of them, larger than the 10 million limits for customer community users. So I'm going to recommend customer community login license, and also talk with the account representative to make sure this is fine. In practice, we can handle 20 million client login license user, no problem. And then there are 800 client sales representatives. If we divide 20 million by 800, each rep has more than 10,000 accounts to manage. So if we have them to own the accounts, they will be ownership skill. And considering how ownership skill cause performance problem, having their assistants to own the accounts do not help much. So as a result, I recommend to have a system user at the top of the role hierarchy to own the client accounts, and then put the sales rep and their sales support assistants in the account team. Then we have 100 business sales reps who span office and manage the business relationship. And for them, they can own the business accounts, no problem. I'm gonna recommend a single org because in practice, employees who get their plan from their employers usually do not frequently visit their financial sites, and so I'm assuming in average a client visit the portal once a year, and with that we can use a single org strategy. So now let's look at the data model. Before the data model, we want the clients to be able to upload documents in portal. So we need to enable that in Experience Cloud setting, and we will archive the files after use. So before we go to data model, let's look at the system architecture. The clients can log into Salesforce to access their client portal. Since I'm assuming these clients are rarely coming to this portal, so I do not assume that they will be able to remember their password. Therefore, I remember password login with community login discovery. And then the employees, this company has stringent security requirement. So I'm going to go ahead recommend a single sign-on with multi-factor authentication. Single sign-on will be supported by Okta with multi-factor authentication enabled at Okta, and the employees logging in with SP initiated single sign-on so that they can access deep links. And then to do that, we need to enable my domain. And Okta support SAML 2.0 federation service, and Okta need a directory. And since there's no existing directory mentioned, I assume we can use Okta universal directory. And then we need to archive data because of the LDV. We need to archive data as well as files to somewhere. So I'm assuming we have ETL tools to archive the data to Redshift and the files to S3. And then when we need to access the files, we can make the file. We can create a signed URL and share that with users. And then the archived data and the historical data, when they are rarely used, I assume, and when they need to be used, they can be surfaced using Salesforce Connect with named credential. When we create the external data services, we're going to use a named credential with named principal. And then from ETL to access Salesforce, the protocol is going to be JWT, OS JWT flow, and we're going to protect the traffic using at the TLS layer with mutual TLS authentication. And when Salesforce need to access service on ESB, the protocol is again JWT and with TLS with mutual TLS protection also. I do not see ESB to go into Salesforce, but we have ETL going into Salesforce anyway. Let's take a brief look at the SAML. We will take a look at this later. We'll look at the details later, and then let's look at our data model. For our data model, basic client information will be modeled with personal account, which under the hood it has account record and a contact record. So we're going to have two. We're going to have a business account type, which is for the business accounts, and then a personal account type for the clients. And the contact here, I forgot to label. This should be controlled by parent for contact. And then I assume people can change employers. When they change employers, they keep their financial plan. So therefore, it is possible for a client to be associated with multiple businesses. As a result, I recommend account contact relationship. This also help us to share records. And then information regarding the type of client, that will be a field on account. And we use ACR, I mentioned that already. The business need ability to access related business account information. So given the client, we know the business because of the ACR. Investment plan is going to be a custom object here, and because later it's required that the accessibility the accessibility of this object is same as their account. So I make this a master detail relationship. And when we got here, I better to cover legends. The default relationship is lookup, and if it is master detail, I label that as MD. There are three master detail relationships here. One is here, one is the investment fund selection, and then another is option under investment plan options. Controlled by parent, contact is controlled by parent by choice, and contract is always controlled by parent. And OWD is private for internal users and private for external users by default. And I highlighted the custom objects with yellow, highlighted the external objects with orange. Investment plan is a custom object, and they need then they describe fund selection. So there's a detail object there to describe the fund selection, which look up to fund modeled as products. And the product has a public read-write OWD for internal users and a public read for external users. And the price book interest associated product with the price book, which has a use OWD for internal users and no use OWD for external users. Fund need to be retained for regulatory purposes. This is LDV, rarely used, so external object. Fund reports describe performance of a given fund. But given that there are 20 million users, more than 2,000 of them may select the same fund, we cannot share the report file. I assume that's a file. By simply creating content document links. As a result, given that we have customer community license for the clients, they are limited with to share files with them. So I recommend to use a chatter group per fund, and then add the client if they have such an investment. Add the client as the chatter group member. Chatter group under the hood is a collaboration group, and then we add these clients as collaboration group members. Investment plan performance report. So this is a per plan performance report, and given that we need to provide this monthly, and later we also need to allow. It's already mentioned the clients can upload files. There are 20 million of them. So if we use this, if we put all of this, use Salesforce files for this, we may be over the limit of 30 million files. As a result, I decided that I'm going to recommend S3 files for this, and surface the files as signed URL as a field on the investment plan. When they click on click on LWC field, signed URL will be created and presented to them. Basic business information is going to be modeled as business account, and then investment plan options is going to be a custom account, and associate employees will be we model that using account contact relationship. Negotiated contract details will be we model that with the contract object. I assume there can be a file to include all the details of include the details of the contract. If we need negotiated contract, this is one word. It is not describing the negotiation process, so I did not put opportunity there. Now let's look at accessibility requirements. They have strict data visibility. That's why I recommended the OWD private by default, and also recommended single sign-on with multi-factor authentication. Basic client information, including the documents, should only be visible to their assigned client sales reps. So the client sales reps and their assistants, they are account team members, and then their direct line management get that because of the role hierarchy. Let's take a look at the role hierarchy. So under the CEO, we have line management. Under them, we have client sales, and under client sales, we have the assistants. And then under CEO, we have business sales, and under business sales, we have the assistants also. We have a system user at the top of the hierarchy to own the client accounts. Now, the management, all the managers have per manager account. That is to prevent, incidentally, if let's say if a assistant own a record, and only the boss, the CSR of the SSA should see the record or file. But if we share roles among them, then all the CSRs will be able to see the files. So it's per manager, per manager role, per CSR role. Well, with only 4,000 users, we're well under limited of number of roles. And when we get here, this is a Sales Cloud implementation to access the Sales Cloud objects, product, contracts, etc. We're going to give most people on the Sales Cloud license. As for the system user, a platform license is sufficient. There's no requirement for business contacts to get access in this scenario. And the client, we give them customer community login license. Now come back to the data model. A client sales rep can choose to share client information with other client sales reps, but not the other assistants. So I'm going to remove. I'm going to make sure we do not show the share button on account, so that they exclusively use account team to add other people. Sorry, I need to open the door for my daughter. Okay, I'll be back. Okay, apologize for that. And then on account team, we can put a trigger there to do validation to make sure only other client sales representatives can be added as account team members. And then to doubly make sure the user records, we're not going to share internal user records to everyone. So for the client sales representatives, we're only going to share user criteria based sharing rule to share other client sales reps user records with them. Specific information about client or business account, such as tax information, should be visible only to the assigned sales rep. Now, other sales rep may get on the account team. Those sales reps have the same profile and permissions, and therefore field level security is not suffice. So I recommend to use a separate object for that, also owned by a system user, and account contact relationship is owned by the system user also. Now, general business information will be modeled with account, business account. They should be accessible to client sales rep who work with employees of the business. So we will add those reps in the account team of this business account. Other business information should be available only to the business sales reps. So we're going to use field level security to hide those fields, and we're also going to give a separate page layout for the business record type, account record type, and the CSR profile. Business account sales rep should not have access to related employee account. This is private by default. Account has private OWD. The investment plan performance reports specific to client and should have the same security requirements as the basic client information. That's why we use master detail relationship here and also here. And we use assigned URL to surface the investment plan performance report. Fund reports should be visible to all internal users. Those we are going to put the fund reports in files in the library and share that to all the internal users public group. And for client should be able to see their investment plan. They have because of implicit sharing, they have access to their account, and contact is controlled by parent, and then investment plan is a detailed record, so they get access to their investment plan. Their investment plan performance report is going to be signed URL made available to them, and then they can see the associated fund reports in the chatter group for that fund. A fund report must be only available to clients who have investment in the funds. So we're going to maintain the membership of the chatter group automatically to make sure only people who have actively investing in the fund are the collaboration group members. Client must be able to view and edit basic personal information. Now, implicitly, they get view to their personal information, but for them to do edit, we need to share write access to them using a sharing set user account equal account. And then there are only some fields they can change, some other fields they cannot change. So we're going to have object level security to allow them read and edit account and contact. But then we use field level security to specify which fields they can read, which they can which is read only, which is read and which is editable. A client must also be able to upload documents to share with their assigned client sales rep that we files loaded into community. Now let's take a look at the authentication flows we are using. First, we have the sample flow. When the internal users go into Salesforce redirect them to IDP. IDP allow them to log in, then redirect them back to Salesforce for login. The relay state is carried in this flow so that the SP initiated single sign-on support deep links. Optionally, we can put a JIT handler there, but Okta can handle provisioning, API provisioning for us, supported by a connected app using web server flow and refresh token flow to do API provisioning and deprovisioning of users. Then after user login, after Salesforce validated the SAML assertion using the loaded public certificate from the IDP, Salesforce allow the user to come in and return the page. The JWT flow is a value token signed by a private certificate. The public certificate would be loaded to the trust store on the ESB side, so that when the when Salesforce send a JWT token to ESB, ESB will return an access token. And then mutual TLS, there are two directions. When Salesforce when Salesforce is on the client side, we want to download the Salesforce public Well, the Salesforce use a CA signed certificate. As long as the ESB trust store have the trust that CA, it will be able to validate the identity of Salesforce. Now, the other direction, mutual TLS. The other direction, when ESB ETL in this case. Can I finish?
Go ahead, finish it. Yeah.
I'll just use 15 seconds to finish. When ESB log into Salesforce, that's supported by a connected app, and a connected app we loaded as Salesforce to ESB is supported by a named credential, and ESB to Salesforce is supported by a connected app. When ESB access Salesforce using mutual TLS, it has to use the 8443 port. I will end here, and welcome to ask any questions. Thank you.